Should you bid on your own brand name? Most e-commerce business owners will say no. They think it's a waste of money. But what if I told you that not bidding on your brand name could be costing you thousands in lost sales? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to set up a cost-effective branded search text campaign so that you can protect your traffic and scale without overpaying. So let's get into it. If you're not running a branded search text campaign, not only are you losing customers, but you're actually helping your competitors grow. And I'll explain why. Most business owners say, hey, look, we already get traffic to our organic listing and we're ranking 1 for our own brand term. Surely this is enough, but it's not, okay? And I'll explain to you why. Competitors can bid on your brand name, which means if you're not bidding on your own brand name, then they can be bidding on your name, putting an ad above your organic listing and essentially stealing your traffic. And I can tell you that people do this because I've done it myself, okay? And I've done it on behalf of my clients. And if done correctly, it can actually work incredibly well. Maybe you've seen it as well when you're looking for certain softwares, you type in the name of the actual software that you're looking for, but boom, you'll actually see one of their competitors running an ad on their name. It's the exact same in e-commerce. And what your competitors are trying to do is essentially just steal your traffic. So you should be bidding on your brand name to protect it. Then you have the added benefit of having a paid ad and then directly beneath it, most likely, your organic listing as well. So you're doubling up on placements. Remember, paid ads always appear above organic listings. Now, most business owners look at it in the sense of, yeah, but I don't want to pay for clicks for people that are already looking for me. And I totally get that, okay? But branded search is high intent traffic, okay? It's people that are actively looking for your business, which means they typically have a very high conversion rate because they're searching for you and going to you for a reason, which means usually you're going to have a very low cost per purchase or cost per sale. Usually your return on investment is so great that it really doesn't make a difference if you're spending a few dollars here and there on branded traffic. Now, what's quite surprising is despite the branded search text campaign being a fairly straightforward campaign in that all you're really bidding on is your brand name, there are still many variables that need to be taken into consideration that are ultimately going to affect your cost, such as your bidding strategy, your keyword strategy, and what I mean by that is your match type, and so on and so forth. All of these things are going to dictate your cost per click, and you want to make sure that you're not overpaying for branded traffic. And this is where I see most business owners go wrong. So I'm going to run through some common mistakes that I typically see inside of business owners' Google advertising accounts. First and foremost is not running a branded campaign at all. And I've already explained some reasons on the prior slide as to why you most definitely should be. Now, one thing that I didn't yet mention, but is extremely important, is that if you're not running a branded search text campaign, but you're leveraging campaigns such as Performance Max, and you're running a full stack PMax, which is advertising on not only the shopping, but also the search network, then the PMax campaign is going to be bidding on your brand name. And that's going to make your Performance Max campaign appear to be doing better than it is, because that's going to then capitalize on all of that branded traffic. So you may have a certain target return on ad spend in mind, assuming that you're acquiring new customers at a really great rate. But if you were to look into the search themes inside of the PMax insights, you'd probably see that a lot of that traffic is branded, and your actual new customer acquisition return on advertising spend is probably much, much lower than you think. So that's another great reason to segment your branded traffic, because it's then going to allow your other campaigns to focus on new customer acquisition, which is ultimately what all e-commerce business owners are trying to achieve. And that's getting new traffic through the door at a profitable rate. Now, if you really wanted to take it one step further, you could exclude your branded search terms from your shopping or even your PMax campaigns, but that's a whole nother topic for another video. In this video, I really just want to focus on the actual search text campaign itself. Another common mistake I see is that people will target their brand name, but they'll use broad match. Now, in a later slide, I'm going to go through the different match types and why you should only use negative exact and a phrase match when it comes to your branded search text campaign. So if you're not sure on the difference at this stage, don't worry, I'm going to break it all down for you. But in short, by targeting your brand name as a broad match, it's very likely that you're going to attract a lot of unwanted traffic. And that unwanted traffic is obviously going to result in wasted spend. Now, if you're also pairing that with an automated bidding strategy, then it's also very likely that you're overpaying for those clicks as well. There's no real reason why your brand name should be very expensive with regards to a cost per click, because there shouldn't be many other people bidding on it in the auction. And usually it's a term that's specific to you. So because your brand name is extremely relevant to, of course, your website and your landing page experience, you're going to have a high quality score, which means your cost per click should be lower than what anyone else would be bidding for it. Remember, Google is an auction and Google's going to dictate what your cost per click is based on not just the level of competition, but also the landing page experience and relevance. So the benefit you have in this instance is, of course, it is your brand name. So you should be paying the cheapest at the auction for your brand name. And what I mean by that is if your brand name includes search terms that are perhaps quite broad and not specific to your brand name, then you could find people coming to Google and searching for that particular term and your ad showing for it when they may not actually be specifically looking for your business. Hopefully that makes sense, because the point I'm trying to make is that if you're targeting a specific keyword and that keyword isn't necessarily super specific just to your business and you're using things like broad match or even automated bidding strategies, then you could end up bidding on that traffic that isn't actually specifically looking for your brand. And with a branded search text campaign, our intent is just to capture people looking for our business and our brand. So you just need to be careful depending on your brand name as to the match types that you're using and of course the bidding strategy. Now I'm going to be honest with you, if you're making any of these mistakes, then you're quite literally throwing money away. But don't worry, I'm going to help you fix them and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. But before we get into it, who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, my name's Theo Clarke. I've been in e-com for 5 years now. I've had my own e-commerce business, which I exited. I've owned a Google advertising agency for 3 and a bit years now. I've also mentored and coached hundreds of students and helped them scale their e-commerce businesses to multiple 6 and 7 figures. All of the things I share in my YouTube videos are strategies that I'm using right now, either inside of my own e-commerce businesses, on behalf of my clients at my agency, or with my one-to-one mentorship students. So you can rest assured that these things are working right now. So let's get into it. I'm going to break down the right way to set up your branded search text campaign step by step. So let's go through the motions of setting up a new campaign. So you're going to open the Google Ad account. Now, if the dashboard looks slightly different to what you're seeing here, don't worry. Google changed their interface all the time. It's a little bit annoying, to be honest, but in principle, what you're going to want to do is create a new campaign. What is the objective? Well, the objective is, of course, sales. You can see that our purchase conversion tracking is set up and our main goal is set to purchases, which is correct. Continue. Select campaign type. Well, this is a branded search campaign, so we're going to click that. Select the ways you'd like to reach your goal, of course, website visits, and here you will simply enter your business URL. Once you've added the brand name, simply click continue. Okay, now it wants us to add a campaign name. Obviously, this can be up to you, but I'll just call it something like, let's keep it simple. Branded search campaign. Click continue. Do we want to create a new campaign? Yes. What do you want to focus on? Okay, so this is where we start to look at the different types of bidding strategies, okay? So Google's always going to promote its automated bidding strategies. Now, I'm not opposed to these, but it's important that you understand the difference between them. So what we have here are the overarching goals of the automated bidding strategies. So the goal of this type of bidding strategy is, of course, conversions. So when it comes to conversions, you can set a target cost per acquisition. Now, you don't have to, but you can. And what this will do, as it explains here, is by setting a target, it's a bit like on Meta when you set a cost cap, right? You're saying to Google, I want you to spend no more than $10 when trying to get a conversion. Now, that doesn't mean that you're magically going to get conversions at a $10 CPA, but Google will use this as a guide. It's your way of telling Google, what you're looking for in terms of a target return or target cost per acquisition. Next up, we have conversion value. So similarly, rather than setting a target cost per acquisition, you can set a target return on ad spend. So this is better suited for e-commerce businesses where you perhaps have multiple products that all change with regards to price point. Then you have clicks, where ultimately all Google's going to do is focus on maximizing click volume over quality. Now, because it's a branded search text campaign and it's your brand name that we're targeting, all of the clicks should essentially be high quality, okay? Unless, like I explained earlier, maybe you have broader search terms included as part of your brand name. And if that's the situation, then you may warrant some unwanted clicks. But this bidding strategy is always going to focus on volume, and it can work quite well for a branded campaign because you can maximize your volume whilst also setting a maximum cost per click. Next up, we have target impression share. So what this does is, remember, Google is an auction. So your impression share dictates how often your ad is being shown based on all of the times it were eligible to be shown. So with a branded campaign, another approach you can take is set a target search impression share. So for example, if we're targeting just our branded term as exact or phrase match, then we want to make sure that our ad is almost always showing when people search for our branded term. So you're going to want to put your percentage quite high if you go with this strategy. say 80% or 90%, and then you can still set a maximum cost per click bid limit. Now, based on the 4 different strategies, I personally would recommend that you go with one of these 2. The one that you decide to go with doesn't really matter too much because they're both quite similar in the way in which they work. Personally, I would go for clicks and set a maximum cost per click bid limit. Now, the reason I do this is to protect your cost per click, right? If we don't set a maximum CPC, it's possible that Google could inflate the cost much higher than what we want to pay for branded traffic. So what I would do is analyze inside of your account what your average CPC typically is, and then set something there or thereabouts. So let's say, for example, on average, you're spending $2 a click. Well, we'd simply just come in and set our maximum CPC to $2. It asks if you want to adjust your bidding to help you gain new customers. Well, I don't think that's extremely relevant in when it comes to your branded search campaign, given that we've already clarified these should be people that are already looking for you. So let's proceed to the next section. Do we want to advertise on any other networks? For branded campaign, I would say no. We don't really need to be appearing on any search partner networks or on the Google Display Network. Then it comes to locations. Obviously, just target the locations where you want your branded search text campaign to show. If you're advertising in the UK, just put the UK. If you're advertising only in the US, of course, just put the US. Language, English. Broad match keywords, we certainly do not want this on. Remember, we had a slide on it earlier where I said that's where people go wrong. They use broad match. We do not want to use this. Automatically created assets, not necessary either. More settings, we're good. You can, of course, add in tracking templates and final URLs, but I'm not going to go through that in this video. If you want to know how to set that up, simply go to Google and ask for a search text campaign, tracking template, and final URL suffix. You'll find a template online that you can copy and paste in there. So here it's giving us the opportunity to generate some assets. I'm not interested in doing this, so I'm simply going to click skip. I want to make them manual. Double check that your final URL is correct. This should obviously just be the website that you're sending the traffic to. And here is where you enter your keywords. So we have 2 different match types that we're going to leverage, exact match and phrase match. And I'm going to revert back to the slideshow just to explain the difference for you. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 3 different match types: broad match, phrase match, and exact match. The 2 that we're going to be using for a branded search text campaign are phrase match and exact match. And I'm going to explain to you why. Broad match is, as the name would suggest, okay? It leverages AI and it will show your branded search text campaign for searches that relate to your keyword, which isn't what we want. We only want to be specifically targeting branded search terms. And to do that, we can leverage phrase match and exact match. Now, the way in which these match types work have changed recently. Okay, Google had a big update and it means that all of the keyword match types and the way in which they operate have changed. So phrase match used to show on Google when someone searches for a term that includes the phrase that you're targeting. It's slightly different now. And the way it works now is that your ads may show on searches that include the meaning of your keyword. So if you're targeting your brand name as a keyword, it's possible that variations of that or words that Google believes to be similar may still trigger the ad. Now, I wouldn't worry about this too much, okay? You can still monitor the search terms and see what types of terms that your branded search text campaign and your search keywords are triggering. Over time, if you start to notice some of the terms are irrelevant, you can simply exclude them or just pause the phrase match keyword and focus only on exact match. But the reason I like to keep phrase match running is because it allows your branded search text campaigns to trigger when someone's maybe searching for your brand name plus a specific attribute or product or anything like that. Now, exact match used to mean that your ads would show only when someone searches for that exact term, the term that matches your keyword, but it's slightly different now. And what it means is that your ads may show on searches that share the same meaning as your keyword. So let's just summarize this quickly. Broad match, it means that ads can show for searches that relate to your keyword. Phrase match means that your ads may show for searches that include the meaning of your keyword. And exact match means that ads may show on searches that share the same meaning as your keyword. So slight distinction there and differences between them. And the ones that you're going to want to target, as I've mentioned a few times now, are simply phrase match and exact match. So what you're going to want to do is add your brand name in here as a phrase match and an exact match. So you can see here Google gives us an explanation of how to do that. If we want a keyword to be an exact match, we use square brackets either side of the term. So you would simply insert your brand name here. Of course, you would actually put your brand name and not the words brand name, but you get the idea. And then if you wanted it to be a phrase match, you use speech marks. So you'd put speech mark, insert your brand name and speech mark. And it's as simple as that, guys. You're adding the brand name as a phrase match and exact match, and we are done. And now we need to create the ad. So you would simply insert your landing page URL here. If need be, you can adjust the display path. So what that would do is change this here. Anything you put in here adjusts the display path in the ad. Next up, you have your headlines. You're almost always going to want to pin your brand name here as position 1. So what that means is that your brand name in your ad will always show here, okay? And then you can follow up with anything else that you deem to be relevant. So let's say you were in the baby niche, you would have brand name and then, number 1 baby store, whatever. It's an example, but you get the idea. So you'd build this out, add on any of your unique selling propositions, maybe any awards, anything that makes your business stand out and that you want to be associated with your brand name. So you could just say, award-winning baby store. Again, these are just broad examples, but you get the idea. So pin the brand name, build out anything that you deem to be relevant to your business that's ultimately going to encourage shoppers to click on the ad. Make sure you fill out all 15 headlines. And then next up, we have descriptions. This is where you're going to want to reinforce credibility and urgency. So you could leverage things like any of your USPs, maybe free shipping on all orders over a certain amount. Maybe all orders come with warranty, whatever your unique selling propositions are, maybe any offers or any things that make your business stand out. This is your opportunity to really display them here in a slightly longer format than the descriptions. You've got up to 90 characters per description, and I recommend that you fill all 4 of these in. Images, I wouldn't say that's super relevant to a branded search text campaign. If you have a physical store, maybe you want to upload an image of the storefront there. Otherwise, I would just add the business name and your business logo, which will then replace what's here. When it comes to site links, this is your opportunity to add specific links beneath the ad here, and people can click directly on those, taking them anywhere other than the homepage, because that's where the core ad will take them. So it could be things like some of your best-selling products, some of your top-performing collection pages, or even something like your about page. Next up, we have callouts. So as Google recommends here, this is your opportunity to highlight any kind of promotional offers or things that you deem to be relevant. So it could be, like they're saying here, free delivery, 24/7 customer support. Again, just USPs, anything that kind of makes your brand or business stand out. You also have the opportunity to add some more assets in here. So you could look to add a promotion. Maybe you've got a sale on or a discount. Maybe you want to add your phone number, opportunity for people to fill in a contact form, so on and so forth. And then here you have your tracking parameters. We already spoke about this at the campaign creation stage, but this allows you to add a tracking template and final URL at an ad level should you wish to do so, but it's not mandatory. It will just help with your UTM tracking. Once you've filled in all of this information, you'll simply click next. So next up we have budget. Now I would set this fairly low if you're new to Google Ads or maybe not extremely comfortable or confident in your abilities. The reason I'd recommend starting it nice and low is then that gives you an opportunity to start to monitor the search terms, make sure that the traffic you're bidding on is of course branded, because remember we set up a exact match and a phrase match. So we just want to make sure that the search terms you're bidding on are still relevant and we actually want to bid on that traffic. And then once you're confident that you are just bidding on branded traffic, you can look to increase the budget further. So if you're setting up this campaign for the first time, I'll just say set it nice and low, start at say $20 a day, and then we can always increase as you need to. Then you simply click next. Now, of course, it's not going to actually let me publish this because I haven't filled in any of the ad information, but for you, it should just check for errors and then proceed to launch. So now you know how to build a branded search text campaign, and you know some of the common mistakes and pitfalls to look out for. But past the point of launching the campaign, how do you actually optimize it? Well, I'm going to show you now. First and foremost, you're going to want to check your search terms regularly. Now, how often you need to check them is going to be dependent on how much you're spending. But I'd say if it's a new campaign and you're spending anywhere between sort of $10 to $50 a day, then a weekly cadence should be absolutely fine. The reason you want to monitor your search terms is just to make sure that your ads are triggering only for your branded search terms. If you start to uncover that there are search terms that aren't brand specific, then you can exclude them. Or if you find that a particular search keyword is the one that's responsible for sending through traffic that's not only branded, such as the phrase match keyword, then you could look to pause that entirely and just target an exact match, which is why we set up both. Next up, you're going to want to monitor your competitor bidding activity. So inside of Google, the best way to do this is by reviewing your search impression share. So you can see how visible your ads are at the auction. Remember, if it's your branded campaign, you probably want to be aiming for sort of 70, 80, or maybe even 90% search impression share, because you want all of that branded traffic to come directly to your website. Inside of Google, you have access to auction insights and you can see if you're directly competing against anyone at the auction. So keep an eye on these two metrics. If you start to see over time your cost per click is beginning to inflate, it could be that one of your competitors is bidding on your brand name, or it could just be that you're using an automated bidding strategy and need to reduce your maximum cost per click. Next up is testing different ad variations. Now, the benefit you already have is that when you create search text campaigns now, they all leverage responsive search ads, which means all of those headlines and all of the descriptions and things that we put in during the ad creation stage, Google is going to cycle between these and test different variations to find the ones that have the highest click-through rate, highest conversion rate, and ultimately the ones that perform the best. So Google is kind of already doing this for you. But you can always test different offers. So let's say, for example, we're leading into Black Friday or Christmas and you have a particular promotion that you want to run. You could always create a specific ad group within a campaign and target your brand name plus Black Friday or plus Cyber Monday and create a dedicated ad just for that. So rather than just pinning your brand name as the headline, you could pin your brand name plus Black Friday sale or Black Friday offer. That way, people that are searching for anything that Black Friday related will see a specific type of ad that is relevant to that, further increasing the click-through rate and most likely the conversion rate. That's just one example of how you might look to test an ad. But of course, there's many different ways to test and different reasons as to why you might want to set up more than one ad or ad group. And lastly, you're going to want to make sure that you adjust your bidding strategies as required. So in this particular example, I recommended that you set up a maximize clicks bidding strategy using a max CPC. Remember, the max CPC there is to protect your bid from going too high. You're going to need to monitor that against your search impression share. And if you need to increase your search impression share, typically you will increase your bid. If you want to decrease your search impression share, then typically you will decrease your bid. Alternatively, you could consider testing the target search impression share strategy, where you tell Google you just want to aim for a specific target search impression share, such as 70, 80, or 90%. And then you can also proceed to set a maximum cost per click. I'd always recommend using a max CPC, regardless of which of the bidding strategies you go for, just to make sure your bid is protected and Google doesn't run away too high with it. The last thing you want to be doing is overpaying for branded traffic. Now, as I mentioned to you earlier, all of the things I recommend in my YouTube videos are things that I'm actively implementing myself, either on my own e-commerce businesses, my clients' businesses at my agency, or my students' businesses through one-to-one mentorship. Over the past 2 years, I've generated over 20 million on behalf of my e-commerce clients, and I actually just wanted to share with you one of my students' results. So here we have Sasha. He generated over €500,000 with a brand new store in 4 months using Google search text campaigns only. And I'd just like to note as well, Sasha did this with no prior Google Ads experience. He was completely new. He joined my community, the Google Ads Ecom Academy, was in the community for around about a month, generated €30,000 in his first month, and then decided to join my one-to-one mentorship program. And as you can see, things escalated very quickly from there. If you're an e-commerce business owner and you're serious about scaling with Google Ads, you can see that my mentorship program is one of the fastest ways to do that. And it's your ability to shortcut your success. I only work with a few people on a one-to-one basis, which means when I work with someone, they get my undivided attention. And that's why we're able to generate results like Sasha's. So if you're interested in learning more about my mentorship program, see the video description for more info. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. There's more videos coming soon, and I'll see you in the next one.